we going? Are we ready? Are we recording?
No.
After I fix my head here. Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Brenner, Valks, the gentleman, back with you on Embrace the Storm podcast with my wonderful co-host, Jeremy Weins, blending into the background as usual.
But I have something that stands out. So.
I know, that's good. It's actually funny. This is green, but against the black background, it actually looks really dark.
Yeah, it's
okay. My shirt is super bright. A friend of mine at work today was like, that shirt doesn't suit you. I was like, okay, cool. It's all good. This evening, we were going to talk about a couple of things. One of them was, don't stop till you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with this idea because I wanted to talk about this idea of how many times we start and stop. Start and stop our diet, start and stop the gym, start and stop in relationships, start and stop careers.
Right.
And this is coming from a place of something I have done. Hopefully I'm going to get better at not doing myself. And I just wanted to talk through the idea that so much good can happen on the other side of not stopping. And so before we dive into that, how you doing? How was your week?
Week's been full. It's been not necessarily in the ways I want it to be full, but it's just somehow, everything just happens. Life is busy. No big complaints. It's been decent, but how about yours? You went away for a weekend then?
I went away for a weekend. It was really good. My grandma turned 90, so we drove out to go hang out with family and celebrate her. Super good. Spent a night in a hotel with the boys.
Nice.
Found a water slide. So rocked and rolled. They had a blast. Super. We were supposed to do a podcast that Friday.
We were.
And so now we're doing it on a different day. It feels kind of weird.
Well, if you didn't cancel, I was going to cancel. So
it's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. But yeah, super good.
Yeah.
This week has been what it is. It feels a little bit weird because I took Monday off because we were driving back from Alberta. And so then I worked a few days. I don't work tomorrow. And then we have Monday off because of the holiday, Remembrance Day. So it's been kind of a weird...
Short week.
Yeah. Kind of weird. But before we dive into our topic again, I know I just said that, but you had an amazing opportunity this week that I wanted to talk about. And I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. You got to stand up in front of the Manitoba Legislature and talk about men's health, something that Embrace the Storm was born out of,
right? Sort
of this philosophy, this idea of helping men, and you had this great opportunity to talk in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell our two listeners about?
Yeah, absolutely. It was something that I got asked to do about a week before.
Yeah.
There's a bill coming out, Bill 217 it is, and it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Bill. All it is, not all, but what it is 1 week after Father's Day, and just awareness for men's mental health.
Okay.
That's it. There's no other agenda. There's no other thing. It's just straight. We want to make sure that this week is known for men's mental health. This would be the first one in Canada.
Yeah.
And I was asked to go speak at this and support it. And so,
okay, so I didn't know the context.
Yeah.
So then you went to talk, because I watched you talking, you can check it out on Jeremy's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that.
Yeah.
But you were talking about your struggles with mental health, why it's very important, why it's close to your heart, and why it should be recognized.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was because of Bill 217 that you got asked to speak. And so the agenda behind it then is, let's get this bill passed.
Yeah, and so it got passed. I think today went right through. So
okay.
Yeah, so that's good. That's really exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah, and so like I said, I got the opportunity to go speak. That was a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And I said like 15,000 times.
You did great though.
But
the message was great.
The message, like the funniest part was going up there, and as I was in the room, I was looking around at everybody else, and everybody had their notes all typed out, and they're ready to read their speeches, and I had my piece of loose leaf with 3 lines on there to cover
some bullet points.
My 3 points that I wanted to cover, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like I'm not going to be as prepared as these people. I'm not going to be,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be. This is why I support it. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to tell them, look, this is why it hit, right, and why I think it's important and why it matters, and so that was a really good privilege to do that. And the coolest part about that is after that happened, and I posted online, and within an hour, I had somebody message me, ask me if I want to come speak at an event on men's mental health, right? And
that's really cool.
so I thought that was really great. That's something I really want to. I'd love to dive into more. Is actually doing that. I think it's very important, and if I could be of assistance, right? And not only that, but the conversation I had, like that night, I was at my daughter's volleyball game, and I had a guy come up to me. He's like, "Hey man, could I talk to you for a minute?" Like, and he had a conversation. Like, I'm struggling. I don't know, like, right? And he just and then okay, well, let's break it down. So now we go in for coffee and we'll have a different conversation about like how do we get through this? What do we do? Right?
Tools and things.
Yeah, and so now I can work alongside of him. Right? I had a number of messages come out that people were just like
in support.
Like this is like thanks for doing this.
Something you talked about. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but something you talked about that I want to touch on because I think it'll kind of lead us into some of our conversation this evening. Is I do everything selfishly around here, but I think something that you said in your speech, and again, I encourage you guys to go listen to it, go watch Jared, is you talked about the fact that when you were going through some of your stuff, that you felt like you couldn't talk to people because men don't talk to people, men don't admit that they're having problems, but yet you went through some massive problems, and so many men do.
Yeah, the biggest problem that I realized, and I think I even alluded to this, was the only place men have to go to talk about their problems was if they are the problem. Meaning if they are drinking, if alcohol is a problem, if anger is a problem, if drugs are a problem, if abuse is a problem.
Yeah.
Now men have a place.
If AA has to step in or something.
Then men can go get help for those kind of things. But if they're struggling with their mental health, there's no resources. There's nothing available, and not to be whatever, but like there's different places that women can go to get those resources, right? And men just kind of get looked at, and I speaking from experience. It's not that I'm saying all men are like no. I'm speaking from my own experience because I looked, and it cost me. And I say this right in front of in that speech. It cost me thousands of dollars in therapy, which by the grace of God I was able to afford.
I was gonna say you paid for it all yourself.
I paid for it out of pocket, and I once again I don't, looking back, I'm not sure how I did.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me logically. It's just like I don't know where that money came from.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is, it did, and and a lot of men aren't able to. A lot of people are unable to afford stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was just blessed to be able to. And
when the month runs out. When the money runs out before the month runs out, and you're struggling and need help, well, there is no help because you can't afford it, you can't do it, and that's why one of the many reasons we started this podcast was because so many men that we meet, that we talk to, behind closed doors or after a beer or something, they'll let you know like, I'm struggling, I'm stuck in a rut, like I love my family, but I'm unfulfilled, I don't know what to do, and you had some extreme stuff happen in your life. Yeah. But it's some of that subtle stuff even that can really just bring you down and claw at your soul.
And it doesn't have to be the extreme stuff that takes
and that's
you
what,
down.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The day-to-day grind is sometimes just enough where you're just like, oh, I'm done. I don't know how I'm going to get through this anymore, right?
Like it's almost, I don't want to make light of your situation, no. And I'm just using you as an example because you're a good friend of mine. And I know you'll punch me in the face if need be, but it's almost easier for guys to ask for help or to talk about things, or even to find an ear to hear them. Yeah. When their entire world is falling apart. Yeah. Right. That wasn't your case necessarily. Again, you paid for that, but it's almost easier when things are out of control.
Right. And that's why I kind of took this opportunity, because I'm not at the place I was back then. Like I have a lot more put together than I was back then, right? I have a lot more strength. And like And so I could look back and say, man, if somebody was there, I was so desperate for anybody,
Even
just
a
that,
good friend
just
to pull
somebody,
you up a
right?
little bit.
Well, but even there, like the truth is, I didn't tell my friends what I was going through. Even my good friends, I didn't want to.
Because you're a man and you sucked it up.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell them because, and so
Yeah.
like, I did. I had a good relationship with my mom through my divorce and through all that but I still didn't tell her a lot of stuff, and like she saw that video and I sent it to her the day after,
Mm-hmm.
and she looked at it and she called me right away. She's like, I had no idea you were going through that much. I had no idea that that's what it was.
Yeah.
And like she's like, you never like
And I
I knew
think,
it was tough, but I didn't know to that degree. And it's like, right, I didn't want to. I said I didn't want to
which
take
is
you
fair.
down.
Which is fair.
Yeah, and I said you were already like to my mom. She was already helping with the kids, and because I had to figure out how to do that, right? And so
Yeah.
she's helping. So why would I add more onto when
Yeah.
she's already dealing with helping with that, right?
I
So
think too, we've talked about it here before in different terms, but I think one of the things as men we have to get good at or better at is walking that line between shutting up and doing our job,
yeah,
right? Taking care of your kids, taking care of what you need to take care of, paying the bills, and I'm struggling and I need help.
yeah,
We have to straddle that line because I think our parents' generation, their generation, those men didn't talk about anything. Well, I'm fine, I'm great, no problem, I got it. On the flip side, then they have other problems
yeah,
that surface, right? But I think too much, our generation and the younger generation has gone way too much the other way, where it's, oh, woe is me, everything's hard.
yeah,
Right? So I think as men, one of the things we talk about on this podcast is how do you straddle that line between sucking it up and doing your job as being a man and getting the help that you need. And sometimes, and we've talked about this, is sometimes that help is not necessarily counselors and psychologists.
nope,
It's a good group of men around you to pull you up.
yeah. And sometimes you just pull you out of that situation,
Yeah.
get your head out of it, because if you're alone dealing with something, like those demons are there and they're going to just drag you down, right? But if you are surrounded by other people who can help you get through it
Yeah.
and just help you, like, hey, look, you're focusing on that, like, hey, let's look at this, right?
Yeah.
It draws your attention away. Also, eventually, the goal is in that you can pull further away, that you're not stuck by yourself anymore, right?
And I've used this before, but a friend and mentor in business, they use this analogy like men are amazing at making themselves an island.
Yeah,
We think that we're the only ones with this suffering. We think we're the only ones with these problems, and we make ourselves this little island. Oh, woe was me, and then we have no one to pull us up because I'll swat your hand away because you don't know my suffering. It's completely different than anything you've gone through. When if we just had a conversation, probably very similar.
yeah. It doesn't have to be the exact same, but it can sure be relatable.
Yeah,
And that's just something that's why I just took advantage of this, because I needed, or I saw this opportunity. I'm like, man, like I know so many men over the last year. I mean, I could probably have about half a dozen, over half a dozen, that have talked to me over this last year alone, that they've thought about suicide, that they thought about like it's just not worth it anymore, that they thought like,
yeah,
and it's like, well, hold on, man, like, let's work on that, right?
yeah.
And so if I could bring awareness and help keep a conversation going about that and just open it up.
I love that, and I think that we need to That's why I love the idea of what I want to build with Embrace the Storm, which is not necessarily in person group because we could be all over the world, but a group of men that we can help, we can lift each other up, we can
Yeah,
build a bit of a community because again, we don't necessarily need psychologists. We just need like-minded men that are willing to raise their hand and go,
I'm
"Yeah,
in.
I'm
I need
in.
help.
I need help. What's next? What do I do?" And so, to that end, not stopping until it's done.
Yeah.
I I've been thinking about this over the last couple of weeks of how many times I get started with the best intentions,
Mm-hmm.
and then I get stuck in a rut. Something happens in life. I get a little down, and then it comes crumbling down for one reason or another, and then I falter for a while, and then I start back up. And I know we've talked about this again. We talked about this I think a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
just briefly, but I wanted to sort of unpack this idea because I think that there is so much power in once you've identified you have a problem, pushing forward and not stopping. And that's where good people around you, different habits, moving, all these things can come into play. And I wanted to just simply unpack that a little bit with you and get your thoughts around this idea of, you've seen it with your food, right? You've talked about it on here
Right.
multiple times where I'm really, really good, banging it out. Man, I had a rough day. I got some ice cream.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? My kids and I just had a weekend, and I went ham.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, how many things in life do we all do that to? Hey, I'm gonna have a better relationship with my wife. We're gonna go out on a date night once a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever it is, and then we kind of slide back because life gets hard again, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
This idea of Ed Milet's temperature, right? If our natural resting is 75 degrees and we go up to 85, 90 degrees because we're doing good, we're in the gym, we're eating right, we're banging on our businesses, our careers, mentally, we're a 75er. So mentally, we start subconsciously mentally looking for ways
To bring us back
to
down.
bring us back down from 80 to 75.
Yeah.
From 90 to 75. And then we sit around going, what the heck happened? Why am I back down here? Why am I gaining those extra 8 pounds? Why, whatever it is, why am I not dating my wife?
Yeah.
Right? And what do you think about that? Let's start there. What do you think about that idea?
I think there's definitely some truth to that. But if you're going and you're in a rut or you're getting to a rut, like generally the ruts that come are already seen. You know that it's coming. You know that it's going to be there. For the most part, you're going to see something. You're going to know that something's on its way. It's not like, oh, I didn't see it out of nowhere. It's just kind of,
Christmas dinner is coming.
yeah, you know it's happening, right? And now what are you doing with it, right? So, and sometimes, like Christmas dinner, well, your choice is you're going to stick to what your diet is. You're going to say, okay, this meal, because it's a once a year thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, okay, this is it, but then I'm back on tomorrow. Or you're going to throw the whole thing away and just be like, oh, well, this happened, so I'm going to just.
I did that last year.
Yeah,
I
a
did.
lot of people do, right?
I was in such a good spot physically last year, and then Christmas happened, and I was like, after Christmas, I'll get back on it.
I never did.
Never did.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the problem that a lot of people have. But the biggest thing I could say in that is if you get into a rut,
Mm-hmm.
push harder, get through. So if you can go now, even if you're going the wrong direction, it is much easier to steer a moving car than a stopped car.
That's a true story.
So if you're moving, you're going the wrong direction. At least you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
So now, okay, let's adjust. Let's adjust. You can easily adjust. Adjusting's
It's that 1% we
Yeah.
talk about.
yeah. You start making those little changes, and also next thing you know is like, hey, now you're going a lot closer, right? So
So, why do you think? No, that's not the question. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's sort of like a screw it mentality? Like it's just too hard, I don't want to do it. Again, the thing doesn't matter.
well, the
Right?
complacency, right? It because we are
Let's
we
talk.
wanna fall back to easy.
So let's talk through that. Let's use me as an example.
Sure.
Right? So last year, I actually was just looking at pictures from last year. Physically, I was looking pretty dang good, right? Christmas came, and I made the decision, screw it, I'm just gonna enjoy Christmas, and then after Christmas, I'm gonna get back after it.
Yeah.
And I did. That's a whole different conversation, but for the sake of this conversation, I didn't get back after it, right? Then I didn't get back after it, and I didn't get back after it, and I just kept, next week,
Yeah.
Monday, right? So where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think we get comfortable, right? We get to the place of, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. No, yeah, I know I'm gonna, and then just that apathetic of just like, I could, but this is just,
Yeah,
it's easier now.
my bed is comfy. I don't need to get out.
Yeah, and with just that apathy sets in, and we're just kind of like, whatever. This is, yeah, but you know what? I'll do it. Procrastinate, and that's why like fast decisions and fast action
Yeah.
Like massive action, like Tony Robbins says, it's just you got to take something, you got to do something and change it.
Yeah.
But if we're just like Monday, oh, we'll do it Monday. Monday doesn't count. It just doesn't, right?
Yeah. How many Mondays later?
Yep. And then you end up like Garfield. I hate Mondays.
Yeah.
Younger generations won't get that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
one of them.
Super. Super. It's true though,
Yeah.
because then we talk about the rut we all fall into that some of you listening might be into, and why I wanted to have this conversation is you get up on Monday, you go to the job that you're not super pumped about, you come home, you're drained because you weren't super pumped about your work, and then you say hello to your family, but it's late because you commuted a whole bunch, and now it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, you're putting the kids to bed. Now it's 9 o'clock and it's time for you to wind her down, or maybe you're having a drink and watching Netflix or whatever it is you're doing. And then you do it Tuesday and Wednesday and on it goes. And then you want to change a little while later, right? You want to change. Okay, starting Monday. Monday rolls around and you got to go to the same crappy job you don't want to go to, see the same people you don't want to see, and the whole thing starts all over again. And before you know it, when we started this, one thing we talked about is you end up in January going, this is going to be our year. And 52 weeks later, it's still the day same.
Yeah. Well, I can relate to even the rut part of it. Like currently where I'm at in my diet and stuff, I don't cheat, I don't do anything.
My man.
At best, like my big cheat will be because I'm doing carnivore, if I have a drink, which I don't do very often, right? And it's not anything crazy, but if I have a drink, it'll go up, like, right? But now I've been stuck at about the same weight now for about 2.5 weeks.
And you've been busting so.
My big cheat in that time was having processed meats, right? Like pepperoni sticks or something like that, right? Like that was my cheat, and still
better than some
I'm not going to having chocolate, like I'm not going to having ice cream or none of that, right? Like my big cheat was literally having pepperoni sticks, and I gained like 5 pounds in one day. I was just like, what happened, right? Yeah. But like it's just, but then now also like now you lose it, right? Then I go up and down.
So now I'm frustrated and screw it because I'm not going anywhere. I may as well just stop.
And you know what? That's kind of the thought that you kind of get into. It's like, oh, screw this is just ridiculous, right? And yet I'm like, no, like we're gonna dive through this. We're gonna keep pushing and keep doing.
So you and I had known each other long enough. When did that change, and how and why do you think that changed? And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because you went from screw it, we'll just go get the ice cream, right?
Yeah.
To no, we're just gonna push through.
Yeah. Well, and even there, I thought, okay, maybe I need to start eating less. Maybe I need to start doing this. Maybe I start like, no, you know what? No. We're down 20, right? And that came because we were consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Now I started looking, okay, my workouts changed, so I definitely have noticed
moving less, lifting heavier.
Yeah, right. And doing like it's just a different workout. Before it was high reps, and now we're going low reps and high weights, right? So just a switch.
With bodybuilder action.
Yeah, so we're switching up and different movements, different things. Okay, so there's a factor there. Stress levels. Well, I've been through the ringer. It seems like for the month of October, which was moving twice was not fun, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and going out on my own, and like there's a number of things that happen.
Even though you were consistent food wise, minus some pepperoni sticks maybe, which is still good in consideration. Your cortisol levels are up because the whole month was kind of stressful.
Everything was stressful. So
you've got some blockage going on there. Like there's some things going on there physiologically.
Yeah.
Which then you still have your choice though, right? You still had a choice where you had some blocks mentally, physically going on in life. Moving twice sucks. All this stuff.
Yeah.
You could have gone for the chips and ice cream.
Yeah.
Which are delicious.
Absolutely.
But you chose to stay consistent and quote unquote cheat by having a pepperoni stick, which again, next to the ice cream, you're still in a better spot.
Yeah.
So what made you go, like you thought through it. You were just talking about the fact you thought through this. But what made you go, no, this time is different?
You know what? I think it's just like I'm just committed to it, right? It's just a different level of like I need, this has to change. This has to be different. This has to, like, I'm tired. And I think
Sick and tired.
sick and tired. And I look and I think of when I made the biggest changes in my life, it was out of desperation and taking action in that desperation, right? And like,
Messy action.
messy action, right? And now this is more calculated action,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, no, we're gonna stick to this plan. We're gonna do this. We're not gonna fall off. We're gonna overcome. We're gonna drive, push through this, and we're gonna do that, right?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I haven't cheated. Outside, they said maybe a few drinks here and there, kind of thing. But like that's
I think something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and it dovetails into the topic, but on the topic of diet and exercise, I've talked about it here before. I'm a huge advocate of macros because you tracking your macros, you see what you eat and what you don't.
Yeah.
Right. Even when you suck, you at least see where you're sucking. Right.
exactly. Yeah, I get that.
It's a trackable thing, and if you've never done anything for weight loss or getting in better shape, I think it's a great place to start and learn, even if it's not something you stick with.
Yeah.
But what I've been thinking about a lot lately is this idea of becoming neurotic, which I have a tendency to do on things where it's not sustainable for most people,
Right.
right? Most people want to have the drink. They want to have that dessert. They want to have Christmas dinner.
Right.
Right? And so, should you gorge yourself on ice cream? Probably not. Should you give her for 3 weeks at Christmas? Probably not. However, we need to live life. And I've been thinking about this idea. And I think that it kind of dovetails into the conversation a little bit because I don't want to go here, but I'm going to go here anyways. We kind of live in the Matrix, where we've been pre-programmed to do all of these things from a young age, whether it be school, parents, etc. This is the way we're going. This is why we do it. Stop doing that because we don't do that in polite society. All these things, and then we fast forward and we overeat and we overanalyze and we over all these things. We over all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what everybody else does. We're just kind of droning on, right? Which is why I think we get stuck in ruts. It's because deep down, a lot of us men want greatness. We're wired for greatness. And this sort of drone behavior pushes us to just follow the crowd.
You're not going to get greatness by waiting. Greatness doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. And so I've been thinking a lot about that lately, about all these norms. And I don't know if it was you or someone else, but they sent me this little clip, and I won't tell you who it's from, who is in the clip. But they were talking about this idea that, as a kid, you hop up on a table with your cape on because you're Superman and you think that you can, rule the world kind of thing. And you get told, no, we don't stand on tables. No, we don't stand on tables. No, we don't stand on tables. You get told that your whole life. And then you become an adult and you don't stand on the table.
Yeah.
And obviously, let's not stand on tables. That could be dangerous. But the point is that we get conditioned to not do the crazy cool stuff. And the reason why that hit so hard was because this idea of not stopping till you're done came to me after watching a reel about how the main character in the movie doesn't sit from 9 to 5 at a desk, go home, binge a bag of chips and watch Netflix and have a whiskey and go to bed. Which has its place. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the main character in a movie is out doing cool main character things. Shooting bad guys, jumping out of planes, riding around with people in cool cars, all these things. So what the heck am I doing?
Even Seinfeld did that. Seinfeld was out doing things.
Yeah.
Sitting for coffee, going for whatever.
Yeah.
Doing all these mundane things.
But they were out doing things.
But they were out doing things, right?
And so why am I just going home at 5 o'clock and clocking out at 5 o'clock and going, well, day's over, going home to chill and do nothing. See you tomorrow. What you do yesterday? Nothing. What you do this weekend? Hung out at home. Nothing.
Yeah.
Hung out. Nothing. Hung out. And then you're 90 years old.
Yeah. It's easy to, and I get being tired and being exhausted and wanting to go home and wanting to be you're just done. So that, absolutely a place for taking
Sure.
time and
Yep.
relaxing. If that is your everyday thing,
Mhm.
now we have a different issue.
Mhm.
Now it's like, okay, so what are you doing? What are you putting into your body? What are you doing for work? And I get doing exhausting work. I did that for
A long time.
a long time. I
Yep.
did construction for over 6 years. I did like so. I get that,
Yep.
right? Like
Yep.
I get the physical aspect. I now doing real estate and counsel and all that stuff. I get the mental aspect of being tired too, right? So I understand that as well.
Yeah.
But like even now, I don't often just go and sit and do nothing. There's always something to do.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out what it is, right? And if you're like, oh, there's just not enough time in the day,
Mhm.
make time. Like don't say there's not enough time because like,
Yeah.
well, how long do you sleep? Well, I sleep 8 hours. I'll sleep 6. Figure out how to do it, right? Like there's different things you can do. Like, well, I don't get a good sleep because I'm up. Well, what are you eating? What's your diet? What's that looking like? Right? And then maybe there's some things there. Is that if you're not going to bed, you're not tired enough. That's why you're not sleeping, right? You're not actually you're tired because you've been lazy.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
If you're tired from working, you're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, you're gonna have a good sleep.
Did you leave it all on the field?
Did you leave it all there, or did you leave it in front of the TV? Right? Because plowing through a bag of chips and going to bed,
Yeah.
you're not gonna feel good about yourself. And trust me, I know this because I'm speaking from experience. Right? Like
Yeah.
I used to do that, and now since switching diets, since doing this and being actually a lot more focused,
Yeah.
I'm at about 5.5, 6 hours sleep a night, and
Yeah.
I'm feeling generally really good all throughout the day. Every maybe once or twice I'll have a nap after work kind of thing. And
That 15 minutes can do it.
and that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's about a 20-minute
Yeah.
nap. I think the most has been 30 minutes, but like I don't set an alarm. I just wake up and I'm like, okay, now it's time to go take on the evening, right? Until it's bedtime, and then it's like crash hard and go to bed and get up and
Because
go
you
do
get
it again.
things to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think too, what are you working towards? Because you said it at the top, like at least I think you said it, is that thing is not gonna show up in your life.
right.
You gotta go get it. Right? You gotta go get it.
Yeah,
And so if that's the case, the average person spends something like 4 to 6 hours a day on their phone.
Yeah.
Average. Most of it probably doom scrolling.
absolutely.
And guilty.
Yeah, well,
I like some good reels. But 4 to 6 hours is a long time. And so if you're getting home, Netflixing or doom scrolling, do you have like even just cut that in half? Let's say it's 4 hours on average a day on screens. Why don't you just do 2 and use the other 2 to start a blog or start a side business or join a men's group or something, dedicate some time to something else productive that could open up relationships, that could open up friendships, that could open up business opportunities, career opportunities, get you out of a rut opportunity, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Join a golf league although we're going into winter, so you can't golf.
well, who was it? I forget. I just heard somebody recently saying the fastest way to overcome depression is stay busy and live life on purpose.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like
Well, depression there, you can look this up online, but it's something to the effect of depression breeds anxiety, anxiety breeds sadness, like it's a whole thing. And so the fastest way to get out of that, you were talking about this inadvertently, is do something.
Yeah.
Take action. Action alleviates anxiety and that alleviates depression. Because if you're busy living on purpose, even if you don't know what your purpose is, actually listen to a book right now about this, but even if you don't know what your purpose is, live on purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
So even getting to depression, a lot of depression in men, and we're not talking clinical depression. We're talking about like
Yeah, we're not doctors, lawyers, or financial
we're
consultants.
talking about Western civilization depression, where
White people problems.
right. And so, but it often comes from overthinking.
100%.
So why don't you dive into that a little bit and talk
I
about?
was gonna say, are you teeing me up here
I'm setting it up because I
Yeah.
think that's a good one to.
to kind of wind her down a little bit here?
Well,
Or how long?
No, we got
no,
time.
we got time.
yeah,
So, I've been struggling lately, mentally, feeling like I'm stuck in a rut, not sure direction. Even though I know my why and I know what I want to do with my life, help men, help people live greatly and have great businesses, right? I know that. But because I haven't been able to find my place, my path that I need to be on, right? So I know the why, the end goal. It's the road I'm struggling with.
Right.
What road to take, right? That's not what we're talking about though. So what I've been trying to do is figure out a frame on how to talk through this. And so I think this will be super helpful. I literally just came up with this the other day, the day before I texted you. I just texted you today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I literally just figured this out yesterday on my drive home. It's the one benefit of commuting. You have time to think things through.
Yeah.
So I think men come into this thing where there's overthink, overwhelm, and out. So I'm gonna work you through.
Yep.
So the first thing men do is we overthink everything. We overthink our finances, where we live, what we do for a living, going to the gym, what we eat, how to track macros. You name it, we overthink it. I personally believe that any man that wants to do things greater than what they're currently doing is an overthinker.
Right.
Right? Overthinking then leads to overwhelm. Overthink, overwhelm, out. It leads to overwhelm, which then means we don't start at all because we're too busy overthinking to start and take messy action.
Yeah.
Then, mentally, we're out. Because we overthought, we got overwhelmed. Mentally, we just were like, we're done.
Yeah.
We'll just stick with the 9 to 5 and the rut. And, the marriage is not 100%. And the relationships or friendships that are not 100%, we'll just stick with it. Because better the devil you know.
Right.
Because I did too much overthinking, which then overwhelmed me, which then now I'm out. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have this epidemic in the world right now where men are just out physically. They're killing themselves.
Yep.
They're giving up on their marriages, their kids, their careers.
Relationships, anything. Yep.
Right? And so for some of us, we're mentally out. Right? Checked out.
Yep.
Luckily, I have good people in my life to go, hey, dumbass.
Right. Right.
It's time to figure it out.
Yep.
Right? But I think we get stuck in this cycle. This is the frame. We get stuck in this cycle of overthinking, which leads to overwhelm, which then mentally we just go, I'm out. It's not worth it. Because, okay, let's go back for a second here. Let's use an example.
Sure.
So you need to create space in your life for something greater. So you sold a house and moved. You recently had some things go on where you decided to do that again. To me, that's messy action. You were just like, I don't know where this is going to take me, but we're doing it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm quitting construction. I'm going to do real estate. I don't know why. I heard people talking about it. My reticulating activating system in my brain picked it up, and that's where we're going. You took messy action.
Yep.
So many people, and I personally believe that you've rewired your brain. You've created new highways in your brain where now your default is, we're just going to take messy action. Not to say you still don't get stuck, because we do. Absolutely. In different areas, but you've rewired your brain tremendously to take messy action, where so many of us, myself included, at times go, no, it's going to be too hard. No, what if this goes wrong? No, what if I do this and then this happens?
Right.
And then we just mentally shut down and we don't do anything.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but I think part of it is I do that overthink, overwhelmed, and I would check out, and I sit there too long, even though I know, like,
I can appreciate that.
And then I should have like my last relationship, I should have probably ended about 1.5 years earlier, right?
It's a hard thing,
but I didn't because I was overthinking. Oh, maybe. And I was like overwhelmed. Well, I don't know how to do this on my own. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? And I don't know what that's going to look like. And it's like, I just can't do this anymore. And I checked out, right? And I stayed there for probably about 1.5 years. And it's like, so it's not that I took that. Then it was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to take action. I need to do something to change.
Yeah, you hit that point of no return kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on the flip side too, we could go, because I've done this recently with some of the things I've been listening to. This thought has occurred to me, and where this podcast sort of title came from was, what if I didn't stop going to the gym?
Right.
What if I didn't stop eating properly? What if I didn't stop pursuing my side hustle? Where would I be 12 months, where would I be today if I didn't stop 12
Yeah.
months ago? Where will I be in 12 months had I not stopped? Right?
Yeah.
But I overthought, I overwhelmed, and I decided I was out. Right? Now again, we've talked about this before, where those out periods for me are getting shorter,
Right.
but I still start and stop.
Yeah.
And that is probably the most frustrating to me because I know I have greatest side of me. I know I can help plenty of men, but because I keep stopping, I can't live up to my potential
Yeah.
as an example to them, other than to be open and honest and have these conversations and hopefully help somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things, like being open to opportunities, learning to say yes to things, like as long as it lines up with your why. Like I said, even having this opportunity to go speak at the Manitoba Legislature, that was like,
Yeah,
okay, let's do this, right?
you're saying yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
yes to it. Get the opportunity to go speak to a men's event.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, like
yeah,
let's do this, right? And just different opportunities as they're coming. I'm like, okay, let's do this, right?
Yeah.
And then other opportunities, I'm like, that does line up with me.
yeah,
I'm gonna say no to that. But if it lines up with my direction of where I feel like I'm being called to,
yeah.
where I'm going, it's like, yeah, let's do that.
This whole mental health thing, because we're both passionate about it. That's why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
One of the reasons. I think this whole legislative thing, and you alluded to this before we were recording. It's been a giant affirmation for you.
Yeah.
On okay, we're on the right path, and I don't mean we, I mean you.
Yeah.
You're on the right path. Now it's your responsibility to continue to show up and say yes.
Yes. And like, yeah, it's one of those things that, and I'm speaking again to this because it's a live, it's a current thing that's happening right now. It's an opportunity where I'm like, this could actually be impactful. Going back to my why is all about connecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I because I feel like I'm very authentic. Because I feel like I am who, like, you see me in the street. This is who I am.
This is
I'm not
exactly who you are.
You're not going to find me being somebody else. So you see me in sales, I'm going to be real with you. I'm not going to be like, this is just who I am, right? And so people can relate to that. They can connect to that. And if I can connect people to help them elevate themselves, be a part of their story, that they can be like, hey, that one guy, he stood out and said something, and that actually made a difference in my life. Hey, remember that time you said this, or come talk to me, like, hey, we went for coffee, and maybe I can connect them with the men's group. Maybe there's connections we can make there or something, right? Like, it lines up, and to help men get through so they don't have to go through the things that they're going through alone, or that they don't have to go through things that I had to go through. Like, if I can help them figure out and get through life, and sometimes maybe it's just being here, sometimes maybe telling them to suck it up, and sometimes it's maybe just being with them and just be like,
having a good coffee.
Yeah, like, I get that, right?
Yeah.
Just being there, right? I don't have, I'm not gonna say I have all the answers, but like,
no,
if I could be along the way, like,
Yeah.
somebody along the way that could help guide, like, I mean, sweet, right? That's awesome. That's
when
it.
we started this thing, we have always said we want to show where we are, where we're going, where we're coming from.
Yeah.
So when we make it somewhere, which I believe we both are in our own way, we're gonna make it somewhere. We have this proof and this road of, dude, we weren't anything when we started this thing, and then we got somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think something that I always admire in you is this authenticity of just Jeremy is who Jeremy is, and you get what you get, and if you don't like it, that's probably too dang bad.
Yeah.
And I think even though you have struggles, some of those struggles have led you to just go, screw it. This is who I am. This is the direction I want my life to head. And if you're not on the Jeremy train, that's too bad.
Yeah. And you don't know, I don't feel bad if you're not, right? Like, that's okay. You do your thing, right? Like, I don't take it a lot personal, which is something that I never used to. Like, I used to take things way too personal, and maybe I went too far with that, where I don't take it out. But it's I just like the fact that I'm at a place where the opportunities come. I want to be able to say yes. I want to be able to be that one that's going to be.
You have to be ready for those opportunities, though, and I think that some of the work we talk about on here, whether it's getting your diet right or getting with better men in your life, not the weekend drinking buddies, is you're going to be ready for those opportunities then because you're elevating yourself and those around you.
Yeah.
I don't personally believe that the big opportunities, which won't look like big opportunities at the time, but those big opportunities aren't going to show up in front of you, or they are. Talk about that in a second. They're
Yeah.
not going to show up in front of you if you're not ready.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is those opportunities are going to be in front of you, but you're not going to be the person you need to be to see those opportunities.
Yeah. And they're not going to be for you. They're going to be for somebody else.
Someone else is going to take your opportunity because you're not ready.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's every. I think I sent you that Jimmy Carr quote. Where it's like everybody wants to be where you are. They just don't want to go through the struggle you have to go through. Something along that line. But he said it much more eloquently. But it was like really good. I was like, man, that nailed it. Like and being authentic, like telling you like I'm struggling. My diet's I haven't cheated. I haven't done anything. And yet I'm plateaued and I'm frustrated. It's driving me nuts. But I'm also not giving up and I'm not switching and it's like, hold the line, keep going.
And on the flip side, I'm here telling you, like, I'm coming out of some mental junk where I quit everything.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly putting the pieces back together now. Again, we want to be on here, be authentic and let you know, like, we struggle too.
Yeah.
We have stuff too.
Yeah.
And something that I think about a lot is Jack Carr. I just finished listening through his series, the Terminalist series. There's 7 books.
Okay.
They're phenomenal. They're fiction. They're phenomenal. But in the beginning of one of his books, I think it's in the foreword or in the epilogue, he has this frame in one of them where he talks about the enemy doesn't care that he doesn't have enough food. The enemy doesn't care how heavy his pack is. The enemy doesn't care that he hasn't showered in 10 days. The enemy has a job to do, and he's going to do it until the end. You know? And so it's this idea of like, doesn't matter how tired you are, how hungry you are, how quote unquote tough things are for you. The enemy doesn't care.
Yeah.
They're coming for you. They're training harder than you. And that's something I think about a lot, this idea that someone is out there training harder than you to take it all away from you. And I know that's in a military fighting sort of capacity,
right,
that quote comes out of, those ideas come out of. But I think about that with my marriage, with my kids, with career and business opportunities, with friendships. Like, if I'm not a better friend to Jeremy and I will become less friends, more acquaintances, and eventually we'll just nod at each other on the street.
Yeah.
If I don't work very hard to be Jeremy's friend, right?
Right.
My wife is going to start resenting me, and eventually bad things could happen if I start ignoring her and giving her the cold shoulder and not giving her the love and attention she deserves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Same thing with career and health and wellness and gym and all these things. Right? Obviously, you can easily apply this analogy to the gym.
Absolutely.
Someone is gymming harder than you are, to look better than you will, to feel better than you will. So what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
Right? That's an easy crossover, but it can be for everything in life. So I think about that a ton, especially right now as I'm kind of coming out of this and trying to put the pieces back on where I'm going to go over the next coming months here as we round out the year, and I don't want to get left behind.
Yeah. Yeah, you still have a month and a half just over left to go, month 3/4.
Like you're one of them. I have some tremendous friends in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women alike that are doing amazing things, big things.
Yeah.
Getting jacked and fit and eating right and great relationships, all these things. And I'm over here going, I can't get left behind. I can't be the only one that stays the same. Because eventually all those amazing people in my life will go, well, Brendan doesn't really want it. And they're going to move on.
Right.
Right? And that's not a slight against those people in my life.
No.
That's a slight against me. Like, I'm making choices.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I feel it's very much the same way. It's like, man, I'm not doing enough. Like, and
yeah.
Which
yeah.
I look at other people and I'm like, man, they're crushing it. They're doing this, they're doing that. Like,
yeah.
And they're just so far ahead of me.
I'm not the only one.
No, like, you're just like, man, I need to work harder. I need to do this. I need to do that.
Yeah.
And yet I was just talking with some people, and I haven't seen this guy in like 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. And we were catching up and we're chatting, and he's just like, and his kids were there too, and he's just like, he's just asking me a bunch of questions, right? And like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, and so I just started
Yeah,
talking
and
to
then
him.
the natural. I haven't seen you in a decade. What are you up to? What are you doing? What are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were talking, and all of a sudden, I just like, oh yeah, we're doing this podcast, and his daughter's just like, do you not like, what do you not do, right? And,
Yeah.
and it just kind of made me laugh, and
I love that.
and I'm like, good question. Like
Yeah.
I try to be busy with things that matter, right? And I'm not always there. I'm not
Yeah.
always where I want to be yet, but
Look.
I have the direction I'm going, and I know that.
Yeah.
And so to be stuck in a rut is not. It's
Yeah.
not an excuse. It's not a way. Like it just can't. I can't do that.
We don't
Even-
really have time.
No, and even diet wise, like just to be sympathetic and like, oh well, I've been trying. You know what? I've done really well. So
Right.
this one, no, you know what? No, it doesn't matter. Like
It's such an
Suck it up and-
easy out though.
yeah, why would I want to like that quote by Andy Priscilla is why would I want to? I did well for 14 days. Why would I want to reward myself with
Yeah.
the one thing I'm trying to avoid? It doesn't make sense.
I recently heard that. I think did you
I
say
said that to you. Yeah.
I listened to it like 3 times in a row because I'm like, dang, that is so
That
good.
just hit so hard, right?
Yeah.
Like when I saw that, I'm like, oh man, I gotta say this. I said
Yeah.
it to a whole bunch of
It's
people. I
so
was
good.
like, yeah,
So good because it's so applicable for every area of life.
yeah,
Like you're trying to do all these good things. You did good for so many days. Why would you do the one thing you could try to do, not do?
yeah.
You know?
That's your reward.
I'm gonna sleep in to reward myself. No, I've been trying to get up early to do all these other things.
Yeah,
Why would I sleep in as a reward?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
what I've been trying to avoid. You know?
Absolutely.
I love that. And I think something I want to end on here, because I know we're coming up on time, is I went out to my grandma's 90th.
Yeah,
It struck me that one day I'm going to be 90. And am I being a main character or just a non-role character in my life? It struck me, I forget what they call those NPCs, non-player characters or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that in Nintendo. Like, I don't want to get to 90 and go, I lived life. Like
yeah,
I got up and I did my thing and I went to bed and did it all over again. I don't want to do that for 365 days a year for the next, well, however much longer I have on this planet. You know, I'm 36 now. They say the average dude 75, 80 years old in North America. You know, so whatever that is, 40 years ish.
Yeah.
I've got left. Am I gonna? I don't remember who said this, but am I gonna walk quietly to death? You know,
yeah.
am I gonna try to get to my grave safely?
Right.
Right. And so just being with my grandmother, who's an amazing human, who's done amazing in her life with the way she's raised her kids and the prayer warrior she is. She's an amazing woman.
Right. Right.
I just was struck by the fact that she's 90. On the back end of life, I'm kind of on the starting end of things. What am I going to do for the rest of my life? And so that's kind of where this stop, start, don't stop till you're finished idea sort of had populated last week, and it was cemented by seeing my grandma
Yeah.
celebrating her 90 years was, what in the heck am I doing to live an extraordinary life?
Yeah.
And like we talked about, sometimes extraordinary life is setting your kids up for their journey.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think that person that's their extraordinary life to set their kids up, I don't think that they wake up miserable every day because they're on purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so if you're out there and you're miserable, and miserable is maybe strong, but if you're not happy with where things are at, you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut. If you're feeling the overthink, the overwhelm, the out, it's time to reevaluate. It's time to talk to somebody, have a coffee with somebody. It's time to make some changes. We talk about that a lot on here, but it's the only way out.
Yeah.
It's the only way out of the out is to make some small incremental changes.
Well, just another thought is like Jordan Peterson says, if you don't know what to do first, sit at the end of your bed and ask, where do I start? What's something I need to change?
Yeah.
The answer will come to you.
The answer is
And if you
already right in front of you.
And then the next question is, what are you going to do about it? Like, get the answer there. So what now? And he's like, well, that's good. I got the answer. Good. Now what are you doing?
And so here's my thing is, your question is XYZ. Your answer is, well, I need to change that. If you're not sure where to change, just start. Right? So
That's the action.
yeah, like if you sit at the end of the bed and you're like, what needs to change? And you're like, dude, I can't even do a flight of stairs without getting winded. Okay, what needs to change? Well, I need to work on my cardio. I probably need to lose some weight. Well, how do I start? If you don't know how to start, you can walk around the block. You can walk your stairs a few times in the evening, in between Netflix shows, if that's your thing. You know, if you're not happy in your job and you don't know what to do next, pick something new to learn and start learning something new.
Yeah.
Even if it's unrelated.
Yeah.
Start learning something new because your brain needs a new challenge.
Yeah.
And I promise you, as you start to fire some new neurons in your brain, taking some messy action, those opportunities, those thoughts will start rolling.
Yeah.
You know, someone years ago, I asked him for advice, and his simple message back was, you already know. And at the time, I did already know, but I was afraid of taking that next step. And so, as we end, I'm going to let you get the last word, because I'm terrible. What would you say to the person that knows but is afraid?
The greatest thing in life are on the other side of fear. Like, you just take the step, take the like you either get to hold on to what you have, and it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
It will not stay where it's at. It will get worse. Or you take actions to make it better. The choice is yours.
That's the only question you need to ask yourself today, guys, as you're listening to this. We love you. We're rooting for you. If you need us, DM us. Find us both on Instagram.
You bet.
And we love you.